Hey everyone, it's Allison working some more on the shirt that you can't even see right now. Okay, we have readjusted. So I'm working some more on the shirt, which I had a whole bunch of discussion about. I had talked through my process. I had talked about why I chose this pattern. And then I found out when I was editing the video that all the sound did not go through. Everyone has a video where something goes wrong, and that was mine. Now here we are with the shirt half done and no discussion about it. Now I can just talk about it today while I finish up. But I'm really excited to do that. Yeah, I'll just get started. Okay, so after spending a lot of time looking at the pattern that I initially had on this shirt, which was just like the penciled swirls, I felt like it really just looked too busy, and I didn't want it to take away from all the other patterns going on, like, you know, the stipples and the spirals in the hair and the sand grains pulling, you know, kind of fading off of the subject. I felt like having a really busy, attention-grabbing shirt would have been too much. So I toyed with the idea of just making it an all-black shirt, but I felt like that would have been way too simple and would have looked too flat. And since the shirt is still such a huge part of the image because, you know, it's taking up a lot of space, I didn't want there to just be this big black shape, like right in the center of the drawing. So I tried to find sort of a compromise between the two, like having a pattern but not having the pattern be too complex, but also not having it be so simple that it was kind of boring and mundane. So I decided to stick with the kind of wavy pattern that I had drawn in with the pencil, but instead of having it be black and white, I decided to go for creating like a black on black pattern. So similar to the other drawing I'm working on with that like black lace dress, I wanted to kind of emulate that look and have these areas where it's lines rather than solid black, have that look kind of simulate a texture so that it can look like there's a texture overlaying just a black shirt. So maybe either like kind of like when you have a black pattern on a black shirt, like maybe a black print, or maybe there's like a black different textured fabric. I didn't want it to be for certain one or the other. I wanted it to, I don't know, it's just kind of like feeling it out as I went. Like I didn't sit and decide like, okay, this is going to be like a lace pattern over a black shirt or something like that. But when I was thinking about the pattern, I was thinking about kind of like tie-dye or marble, and how those splashes of color and pattern aren't really like by design, they're just kind of there, and how when you look at it, you're not trying to find really a pattern, you're just aware that there are shapes existing within like a solid color. And that's kind of what I wanted to do here. Like I feel like it's a great way for me to keep the shirt like dark but have it not be plain. And honestly, I really wasn't sure how it would look, because when I started with the idea, I hadn't committed to it yet, and I did like one corner, the top left corner, to see how it looked, and I liked the way it looked, but I knew once I got into like the later part of the shirt, like it might not look the way I envisioned and I might end up hating it. But I am more than halfway through now, and I still really like it. I think it looks really cool, and I'm excited to see like what it looks like when it's finished. I'm not feeling as anxious as I thought I would. A big key I realized in my last video when I was getting started on this was that the lines, so that it doesn't look too haphazard, they need to be going in the same direction, because at first I wasn't paying attention to what direction they were going, and it looked crazy. Like some would be going, right now they're all going down towards the right, but in the beginning I wasn't paying attention to that, and I had one area of lines going kind of just straight across, and then another one was going I think, up towards the right. And it looked so bad. And I was really glad I figured out, like, oh, it's not that this idea is bad. It's that I need to be consistent with the direction. Figuring out as I go, like, where I want to be solid black and where I want to be lines. So the pencil that was there, I used as kind of a guideline when I blocked it off in pen, but I didn't follow it exactly because there was too much going on. There were too many lines. It was too busy, and that just wasn't working for me. So when I went in with ink, I followed like the direction that I had those lines going, but I drew over them. Like, a lot of them are gone now, and I like it a lot better that way. It's simpler, it's cleaner. And I'm alternating kind of between solid black and lines, but again, I'm just kind of feeling that out as I go, like just seeing what looks good. I don't want to have like too large a block of solid black, but I also don't want to have too many lines too close together. Like in the middle, there's a few that are really close together, and I think that's like as much as I want to do in one place, or else it will look too light. Like there will be too much, it's not negative space, but there will be too much pattern space, I guess, and I don't want that. So it's kind of hard to tell too, but I have defined by coloring in with pencil. Like you can see in the bottom left and right part of the shirt, there was some pencil scribbled over it. That's where the shadows are. So what I'm doing in those sections is I'm making the pattern part, the lines, darker, and the black is just gonna be black all the way across. But that's how I'm trying to deal with the different lighting on this all black top. And so far, I think it's working pretty well. I may go back in after I see the whole thing done and decide that it needs to be even darker so that, you know, the shadow is more obvious. But I am really liking it, how it looks. I ended up making a few other changes as well. I added the second arm. So the reference photo that I was using and the way that the angle of the subject is standing, that, okay, so it's her left arm facing us and her right arm. So her right arm was kind of hidden behind her back because of the perspective and the angle. And the more I looked at it, the more I felt like the picture wasn't, what got me thinking about it was in that video where I was asking myself questions, and the question about like, how does your eye move across the art? Well, it said the painting, but you know, how does it move across the artwork? And I felt like there wasn't really much other than up and down. Like I felt like too much of the placement was all just kind of a line. Like it was all just in one section. I didn't really like that. I wanted it to feel more, I wanted there to be more going on the right hand side of the panel than just the lines coming out. So I added that second arm. It's not a lot there, it's really just like the forearm because, you know, the drawing cuts off at the waist sort of, so it's not like I needed to draw a whole other hand or anything. But I think it gives more movement to the piece and I feel better about it when I look at it. I also darkened some of the lines, not that you can really see them right now. Well, there's one hitting the hand. I added that in. Really, like now that I'm getting to the end, I'm really thinking about like what changes do I want to make, because once it's finished, or what, you know, like it's kind of hard to accept when a piece is done. Like, it feels like there's always improvements you can make, but sometimes you look at it and it just, you can tell there's no more to do, I guess. So I'm kind of seeing if there's anything else I want to do before I feel like it's really finished. Yeah, back to the shirt. I mean, I'm just really glad I got it figured out, because the shirt was really stressing me out. Like, I wasn't sure what I was gonna do to make it work. Another reason I'm really liking keeping it very dark is that when the shirt was just kind of white with the pencil, the hand wasn't popping as much, because the shirt was looking very gray, and the hand, like, really the skin in general, it's kind of like a light toned gray because it's just the stipples. So it wasn't popping against the shirt, like it was blending in, and it felt like such a waste of all that like line work and all those patterns, because you couldn't really see all the details. It was just blending in. But with the black shirt behind it, it pops a lot more, and I feel like it gets the attention it deserves. So sometimes I have to like take a step back from it and see if I'm seeing too many white spaces, or see if it's still looking good. Because when I'm up close to it like this, it'll feel like, you know, I've got it. Those lines are as close together as they can be without just being on top of each other. And then I'll step back and I see all the empty spaces. And then I have to think about too, like, I can't make it too dark in these spaces that are supposed to be kind of in the light, because when I get to the shadowed spaces on the bottom left and the bottom right, those need to be even darker. So I have to leave myself a little room to get darker so that the difference is obvious. Okay, so that's gonna be my stopping point for today. I got through the shirt, which I'm really honestly a little bit surprised. I thought it would take me a lot longer, but clearly doing lots of little lines and filling in spaces is not as time consuming as stipples. Good to know. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you guys later.